I've been wanting to make a video for this particular album for a while, partly because I have a personal connection to it, and because I wanted to touch upon something that has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember: mental illness. The album Songs from Suicide Bridge has gotten me through my worst times in life, so much so that I'll catch myself listening to it even though I feel fine, because even though this album can be bitter and depressing to some, it's also haunting and beautiful to those who can reciprocate the emotions coming from it. And hopefully you can as well. Before we look at the album, let's look at the story of two men who came together to create an album that has resonated for years while spiting the industry that rejected them. David Kauffman had moved to Los Angeles from his hometown of Madison, New Jersey in the fall of 1978 with hopes of jumpstarting a career as a singer-songwriter. He had recently graduated from college with a degree in music education, but he hadn't told his parents that he never really intended to teach. During his time in LA, he would wait tables at the Hamburger Hamlet, a fast food chain known for its unusual menu options during the latter part of the 20th century. On one Saturday in the fall of 1981, Kauffman appeared in the basement and was allotted enough time to perform only 3 songs. As soon as his time was up, Kauffman packed up to leave, but a man by the name of Caboor caught him at the door. "I'd like to hear more of your stuff," he said. They exchanged numbers, and within a few weeks they were meeting in the backyard of Caboor's parents' house in Naomi, one of the flat, leafy streets near the Walt Disney Animation Studio in Burbank. In the early spring of 1983, the duo walked onto the Colorado Street Bridge, guitar cases in tow, to shoot photographs for their first album. Kauffman had never visited the bridge, but Caboor remembered it from his childhood, when his family would drive to the Rose Bowl from their house in Burbank. By this time, locals simply called the grand structure Suicide Bridge. In the 70 years since it opened, more than 100 people had successfully ended their lives by jumping off the edge. Between June and October of 1983, they made slow progress on the recordings that became Songs from Suicide Bridge. Sessions commenced once a week, usually for a couple of hours at a stretch. Everything was recorded onto a 4-track Portastudio that Caboor had purchased from a music studio in Van Nuys. The project almost died when they took the tapes to be professionally transferred and were told that the tracks were so haphazardly constructed that they would have to be re-recorded. They were crushed, but within a day, technician Norm Stepansky of Hillside Recording in Encino had figured a way to make it work. Both Kauffman and Caboor credit him with saving the album. The result was a 10-song album pressed onto 500 copies, which cost them $3,000 at the time, mainly because they didn't use a professional studio. Distribution of the record was what you would expect. Some were sold at the venue where they met, and a good chunk were sent to college and independent radio stations across the country. But it's safe to say that most of the promo copies probably ended up in cutout bins. Fast forward to almost 40 years later, and we, a new generation, can cherish a 30th anniversary reissue of Songs from Suicide Bridge. Of all the vinyl that I have looked at in the past, this is the most simple of my collection. No funny colored vinyl, no flashy artwork, just an underexposed photo of the artists with the album name in Kauffman's handwriting. This 2LP comes with an essay by Sam Sweet, which I used for some of this script. A transcription of the essay can be found in the description. The only things worth mentioning on the vinyl is that there is so much empty space where music would go, and this modest drawing of a donkey on the label. When spinning this record, each song tells a melancholic tale of greed, temptation, loneliness, and every dark emotion in between, and each is sung with the pain-riddled vocals of either Kauffman or Caboor. The lyrics allow the listener to let their demons pass with acoustic slide guitars, distressed pianos, and even unfamiliar instruments like a dulcimer. But where I believe this album shines is in the closing track, One More Day, You'll Fly Again. With its more uplifting nature and lyrics expressing that even though you're at a low point, you'll come back, that the hardship you faced was only temporary, and it's now time to move on to better ventures.
On the ground, but not for long. Another town, another song. Is it right, or is it wrong? Can't tell for sure.
I know that this video is a step away from my usual repertoire and is a bit of a downer, but I felt as though this record deserves a review treatment like all the others, regardless of my connection to it. I would recommend this album to someone you know who is going through a rough patch or enjoys some good old folk music from days past. The digital remaster can easily be found on the web, so go forth and remember to take care of yourself. September is National Suicide Prevention Month. If you or someone you know needs help, you're not alone. There are also additional resources to consider if you so desire. Links and other additional information will also be in the description. Thanks for watching.
One more day is all you have to give. All you've got to live. Don't throw it all